Because I don't think I finished it with you guys, right? Okay. Worksheet 2B, how far did I get? Did I do 10B? I did this 10B? Okay. So I'm going to start with 10C. This should help some of you who said you needed another example on 4B to help with 4B, or you didn't do 19 and 21 because you didn't know how to do that part. This will help, okay? So let me see if I got a cursor here. Hello. All right, there we go. This is really a pretty easy one. We're supposed to find a line perpendicular to this. That's what that little upside down T means, right? Perpendicular slope does what to that 2/3? Flips it and changes the sign. We're all okay with that part? Now, the reason this is such an easy question, does anybody recognize that point? Think about plotting that. It's the y-intercept, right? So we really are already in luck. This is the B value. So if we go over here, we could write what? X, we needed X, plus the 3 from this guy right here. We don't need this 1 at all right? All we needed out of this equation was the slope. Now, they're not all that easy because they don't always give us this y-intercept. Okay, so let's try, maybe, come on, please work. What happened? What's going on here, guys? Okay, try this. This one says parallel, so we don't have to flip the slope over this time. And once again, I have no cursor that's working. Why is it hate me when it gets to be this time of day? All right, I'm trying. All right, what do we need to do to this line to find the slope? Yeah, I would just get the y by itself or slope-intercept form, exactly. So if we subtract the 4x, I'm going to cry here in a minute. Okay, I don't have a cursor, so I have no idea where I'm writing. We get negative y equals negative 4x plus 6. And then if we change all the signs, we get y equals 4x minus 6. So what's our slope? 4. And if it's parallel, we don't need to flip it over and change the sign, right? I just keep hoping this is going to start working. And it's not working yet. Okay. I'm going to go with, we need to use this point and this slope right here, which, okay, I know I'm a mess. And I'm going to use point slope since we have a point and a slope. We could do it by slope intercept, and I can show you that way in a second. It'd be y minus the y value, which is negative 8 from that point. Everybody know where I got that? That point over there had a negative 8 as a y value. Equals, what's next in this form, point slope? The slope, which is 4, and then it's parenthesis x minus the x value, which is 1. All right, if I rewrite this, becomes y plus 8 equals 4x minus 4 if I distribute. If I subtract 8 from both sides, I get y equals 4x minus 12. How could I check that problem? First of all, does it have a slope, right? How could I check that it went through 1, negative 8? I could graph it. What else? If I plug in the negative 1, 4 times negative 1 minus 12, does that equal negative 8? Oh, it was a positive 1. I'm like, no, what did we do wrong? It's a positive 1. 4 times 1 minus 12 is negative 8. It works. Okay. Scared myself. All right. Perpendicular bisector. Ideas here? What is a perpendicular bisector? Okay, which means it goes through the midpoint. So we need the midpoint. How do you find midpoint? Not quite. It's average, so you don't subtract, you do what? Yep. So we need 2 plus 0 divided by 2. Those are the x values, and the y values are 6 plus negative 8. What do we get? 1, and negative 2 divided by 2 would be negative 1. So far, so good? What else do we have to do? Okay, temporarily have a cursor again. I need to do the slope, guys, because if it's going to be perpendicular, I have to find the slope and then flip it over and change the sign. So the y values are here. 6 minus negative 8 over 2 minus 0 gives me 14 over 2, which is a lovely slope of 7, which makes an even lovelier slope for perpendicular of what? Anybody want to cry a little bit? That's an ugly slope. All right, now what am I doing though? If it's a perpendicular bisector, it has that slope and it goes through what point? The midpoint. All right, slope intercept or point slope? Point slope, okay. Y minus negative 1, because that's the y value right there, equals negative 1/7 x minus 1. Now, if it didn't specify, which I think on the homework it doesn't for this particular question, you could stop right there. Maybe write that as plus 1. But that's an equation of a line. It doesn't specify what form. I'm going to practice this with you once. If it said slope intercept, you would need to distribute minus 1, negative 1/7 times negative 1 would be plus 1/7. If I subtract 1 from 1/7, what do I get? Negative 6/7. Try it on your calculator. 1 divided by 7 minus 1, math enter, should be negative 6/7. Okay, this is slope intercept. Review real quick for me. How do I do standard form? Right, ax plus by equals c. What do I need to do to that mess? Yeah, I need to add this over to the other side. So I get a positive 1/7 x plus y equals, and this was a negative 6/7. What's the other thing I need to do? Yep, I can't have any denominator I can't have any fractions or decimals. So I'm going to multiply by a common denominator of 7. Oh, really? Did I just lose the cursor again? Yes, you didn't. You could leave it any one of those ways. I'm just trying to review everything we had to do over the last couple days. 7 times 1 divided by 7 is 1x. 7 times this y is plus 7y. And over on this side, 7 times negative 6 divided by 7 is negative 6. So this would be standard form. It didn't specify, so I don't care. I'm just trying to review with you. What? On the quiz, it says in the question, or I don't care. If it doesn't specify, you're good. Any one of the forms will work. All right, what about a specific question? Do you need some specific question answered off 3 or 4? Are we good? Some of you. This disaster? Okay. Multiply this through first, and what do I get? Negative 7 over 12. B And then a negative times a negative will make this positive 11 over 24. Okay, we have a minus 4v equals negative 829 over 9. Now what? 824, thank you, I can't read. What's our common denominator? It's got to, all of these have to go into that number. So it's got to be bigger than any of these or equal to. The biggest one here is 24, but 9 doesn't go into 24. If I do 24 times 2, it's got to be a multiple of 24. I get 48. Does 9 go into 48? If I do 24 times 3, I get 72. Do they all go into 72? Yes. That's my common denominator. All right, I need you to have your calculator open and be typing this. Otherwise, it just seems like it's Hofbauer magic. Okay? 72 times negative 77 divided by 12. Somebody? Thank you. Okay, I know what this one is. 72 times 11 divided by 24. I got 33, yes? 72 times what back here? Yeah, just negative 4 or divided by 1. It's just 72 times negative 4. 288? All right, and over here, negative, it doesn't matter the order. Negative 824 is being divided by 9 and multiplied by 72. Should be like negative 1700 or something. I don't know. 6,000? Okay, yeah, I can't do that in my head, obviously. What did you get? Oh, yeah, it should 6,400 something, I was thinking. All right. Anyway, yep. Now can you finish? It's probably really ugly. Combine those like terms, negative, I don't know what that is. Subtract this over here. No, I didn't need to carry those. 6625, is that what that should be? Okay, then divide. I don't know if it comes out nice. If it doesn't, your calculator will reduce it with a math enter. Does everybody know how to do that? Is there anybody who hasn't really worked much with a graphing calculator? Is there? Yes? Your teachers either didn't use it or didn't. Okay. Is yours a Casio? Okay. You're either going to have to bring in the book and I'll try to help you figure some stuff out, but it's not going to do the same things. You're welcome to use mine in class and on tests and quizzes, whatever you need to do, okay? What did you get when you did a math enter, guys? That one might have a fraction button. I have no idea. Everybody's okay? What else? Anything else? I need to get started on today's questions then. All right. We are going to switch to worksheet 5. Your homework tonight is worksheet 6, which only has like 5 questions on it. And some of you need to do 4 still, yes? Like a bunch of you need to do 4 still? The odds, only the odds, right? What are the odds? Okay, math pun. I'm like, does she really not know what odd numbers are, or she's just being funny? Gotcha. All right, the 2 learning targets for today are to shore up our ability to write an equation through 2 points by doing a bunch of application problems and then to use that equation to predict values. All right, this is a little chart that talks about how to do word problems. It just says identify quantities, carefully read the question, blah, 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 blah. But it says when needed, write a formula, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to write a linear equation. Then it says solve for the desired quantities. Whenever reflect on whether it's a reasonable answer. Okay? Some of these questions are a little not too sure about reasonableness because it's really old information that's on the worksheet, but that's my fault. Clearly convey your result. It says answer in full sentences. I'm not worried about full sentences so much as when there are application problems, please make sure you put a label. Okay? Here we go. Everybody on this worksheet? We good? This first one is pretty basic. It kind of babies us through this. Okay, 2004, population was 1,001. 2008, school grew to 1,697. It's growing linearly at a constant rate, that means. Okay, it's not growing like a parabola or exponentially. It's growing in a straight line at a constant rate. So how much did the population grow? Type, 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 type. Not even sure we needed a calculator for that, did we? Okay, 696 students. How long did it take for that to happen? 2008 from 2004 is roughly 4 years. All right, what is the average population growth per year? What's that asking us to do? Which is, I was going to put a dollar sign on that. I don't think we need a dollar sign. What is it? 70 something? 174? Thank you. And label per year. Yes, thank you. It is a rate. Okay, when we talk about a linear equation, what is the rate? Where does that belong in the equation? It is the slope. The rate of change is the slope of a linear equation. Okay? What was the population in the year 2000? If this is increasing at a constant rate, could we go backwards and find that out? Okay. So, yes, actually, this was 4 years in the beginning, right? So we could just go back that same amount. Okay. Otherwise, we could say in 2004, it was this much, and it was 174 being subtracted off for 4 years. It's going to be exactly the same thing as if you subtracted 696. It's 305. Okay. Now, another way we could have done that was to say, here they're going to say years after 2000. Years after 2000 means that we're going to start with year 0 for 2000. And what are we going to use for 2004? We're going to use year 4. The population was this. And 2008 means year 8. We're using 1697. Could we find the slope? Did we already find the slope? What was the slope? 174. Did we already find the y-intercept? Because that's what's happening in year 0, which is 305 students. We could have also, you don't need to write this down if you don't want to, but we could have also done like this, where we said 174 and used this. Yes, way too much work. So what is our answer? The population, if you wrote it in y equals form, I would be fine with it. I don't care. But it says to use a p, so I'm going to use a p. Equals 174 students per year. What are we going to use for x according to them? T years, plus, where did we start with? 305 in the year 2000, because then T is how many years after 2000. This would have worked out the same. If you simplified this, you would get 174x plus 305, I promise. Using our equation to prick 2011, how many years is that into 2000s? 11. So we're going to put T equals 11 into that equation. Anybody have a number for me? 2019. Sorry, guys. I asked the question and then 4 of you say it and I can't hear one over the other. It's my bad. Pretty basic that one was. Not too bad. Okay. Number 2, are we ready to move on? Number 3, yeah, because I copied and pasted this from another worksheet and this one's actually on the quiz. Yeah. There is a question, not with these numbers, but there's the question like this about a phone company. It says there's a flat fee built in plus amount of money per minute. If you use 410 minutes, it's $71.50. Use 720 minutes, it's $118. How are we going to determine the amount per minute and the flat fee? That would be the amount per minute, right? So we're going to write ordered pairs. What's the first ordered pair I'm going to write? 410, 71.50. And the second ordered pair is 720 and 118. So the cost per minute is the slope. So it's 118 minus 71.50 over 720 minus 410. I don't know what this is. It comes out 0.15 after you divide. I remember that much. Anybody do this top for me? 46 something? No. 46.5? Thank you. Is that right? Are those numbers right now? Yeah. Okay, thank you. What does that mean? Because it says here, interpret the slope for part B. The slope means what? $, 15 cents per minute. There we go. Because it is the change in Y per X, so it is the change in cost per minute. How are we going to find that the rest of the equation then? Yes. Yes, because this is what he's doing, whether he knows it or not. He's putting this point in here, and you don't have to do it this way. You could use point slope, but he said 71.5 is your Y. The slope is 15 cents. The X value is 410. So he said multiply those together and then subtract them over here. Is that going to work? He was just logicking through it without doing an equation. You could have also done Y minus 71.5 equals 0.15 times X minus 410 if you like point slope, okay? Yes. As long as you, yes. If you get the same answer, yes. If it's a question where I have to be able to tell whether you made a conceptual error or an arithmetic error, I need to see some work. If it's right, and I don't care how I got it. But if it's wrong and I have to decide between a 3 and a 4 or something, then I'm going to need to see some work. Otherwise, it's just going to be I'm going to assume it's a 2 because I don't know what you did. Does that make sense? Okay. But no, you don't have to have done it the same way I did, as long as I can see how you got it. All right, did someone multiply this together and then subtract it over here? Was it just $10 even? Does anybody need me to go through that? This multiplied to $62 here, $62.50, $61.50. These two multiplied to make $61.50. So then when you subtract, you get 10 is B. Okay. So what does that mean? The B value is 10 what? $10, which is they called it the flat fee. It's the flea. It's a flea. I don't know what I just wrote. It's a flat Friday. Yeah. That's EA. Isn't it spelled EA for a flea, a bug? Anyway, use the equation to predict the cost if it's 687 minutes. Someone help me. Save me here. Oh, I didn't even write the answer up here. It should be the cost is 15 cents per minute X plus $10. That was A. I'm really sorry if you're watching this video right now. My brain is dead. So someone put in 0.15 times 687 plus 10. What's their bill if they talk for 687 minutes? They really need to start texting if they talk so much. 113.05? Yeah. Thank you. I would suggest texting a bit more. 687 minutes is a long time to be on the phone in a month. Yeah. If you're a businessman, some businessmen talk on the phone like an hour a day. That would be way more than that. All right. I'm actually going to skip number 5, except I would like you to just write the ordered pairs. So if you had to go back and do this one for practice, you don't have to, but it might be good to get ready for a test or a quiz. What would the ordered pair be here for the 1991 in the Moose? I think the number of moose would be your Y because it says find the population. I just wrote that wrong. 4360, right? And we can either use 1991 or we can use 1 for years since 1990. What do you want to do? You want to use 1991? That'll work. And your other ordered pair would be 1999 and 5880. Is that right? Bifocals can't. Okay. So you would find the equation of the line for part A, and then for part B, you would put in 2003, right? Okay. I didn't do part A or part B. I just helped set them up to start, okay? I don't want you to go back later and go, what? Why is that the answer? It's not the answer. By the way, I think I forgot to tell you guys as a class that the answer keys are available to the worksheets. Did I tell you that? No. Okay. It's over there in that giant binder next to the green bin, which apparently my DSRM class piled junk on top of. But that binder has all my worked out answer keys, and you're allowed to take pictures. I don't care. Okay? It's not about going home and copying the answers. Who's that going to help? It's about checking that you're doing them right. Okay. This question goes really quickly. It says the Federal Helium Reserve held about 16 billion cubic feet of helium in 2010 and is being depleted by about 2.1 billion cubic feet each year. Give a linear equation for the remaining federal helium reserves in terms of number of years since 2010. If it's years since 2010, then year 0, it has how much? 16 billion cubic feet. Is that an important ordered pair? It's especially important because it's the what? Y-intercept. If it is being depleted by 2.1 billion cubic feet per year, is that an ordered pair? It's a rate, so it is a slope. What is the slope, though? We got to be careful. Depleted means, yes, negative 2.1 billion cubic feet per year. Okay. So A says write an equation. What would that equation look like? R equals negative 2.1 per year, starting at 16. So you could have written 16 minus 2.1t, the same thing, right? What'll it be in 2015? What do we got to put in there? T equals, what did we start with? Oh, no, it said since 2010, though. So we're actually using what? 5 years later. We got to put a 5 in there. That would be negative 10.5. Is it 5.5? So 5.5 billion cubic feet of helium would remain. Okay, at this rate of if the rate of depletion doesn't change, when will the reserve be depleted? Well, I think we need a 0, but where do we need to put the 0? The reserve is 0, so the reserve, or it goes in as a y value. Yes, if we subtract 16 and divide by negative 2.1, I've lost my cursor again. Okay. Is it negative like 7 point something? Anybody remember? Or it's positive. Sorry, just kidding. Okay. Now, to answer the question, though, remember earlier we talked about reasonableness of your answer. When will it be depleted? What are we adding that onto? 2010. So we will run out sometime in 2017, according to this goofy question. Or we could say gone by 2018. I don't care. I would accept either one of those answers. I would even accept if you said it will run out in 7.6 years, okay? Yeah, I really like these better though, because it does, if you write down in 7.6 years, from when? All right, just kidding. Moving on. Yes, someone? No? Good? Timmy's just stretching? Okay. Read this to yourself. I want you to think about what you would do. What kind of a question is this? What are you trying to find? Okay, when you're going to get a better, which is a better option, right? Or when it becomes a better option. Do these in Algebra 2 a lot, but some students earlier today got confused because you also did them in the exponential growth chapter. Is this growing exponentially? No. Yeah, it's just linear. So it's just, what's the equation for option A? Anybody know? Your salary is, I'm just going to call it Y, $17,000, right? Plus 0.12, is that it? Times X, where X is what? The number of dollars of stuff you sell, jewelry. Number of dollars sold. I don't know, that's messy, sorry. What about B? What if you take that offer? You start more, but you only get to keep what? Which is, how do you write 5%? Okay. How would you like to solve this? Graphing. I did a lot of them last year in Algebra 2 graphing. Go right ahead if you want. It is a pain in the neck to find a window for this. Okay? And it's very easy to solve algebraically because we want to know where they do what? Intersect. What is intersect called? Where they're equal, yes? So can't we just set them equal or even in inequality? Because I want to know a value, not just, some of you just use the table and come to a rough estimate. I want to know where what? A is greater, right? Yeah. A is larger, so I'm going to use a greater than. You could just find where they're equal and it would give you the same value. It's just written differently. Right, if I subtract 0.05x from both sides and I subtract 17,000 from both sides, I'm skipping a lot of steps and just showing work very quickly here. I get 0.07 and 3,000, and when I divide, I get a really ugly number. X is greater than, is it 42,000 something? Thank you. Some ugly thing like that. So you would need to sell more than what? More than that, yeah. So more than $42,858. I'm just rounding up to the next dollar or whatever. Sell at least $42,858. And I'm not worried about the decimals at this point. There's one trick with inequalities. Did we need that trick? Does anybody remember what the weirdness is? You flip if you multiply or divide by negative, and I didn't do that, so I was good. You could have graphed it and found the intersection point. I just think it would take too long to find the window. Did anybody try it? Get it? Did you get it to graph and find the intersection point? Was it painful to find the window? Not too bad? Yeah, see, she's still trying. I just thought it was kind of icky. You wouldn't have bothered. All right, last question. What's your homework again? Finish 4 odds and do 6. Okay. All of 6. There's only 5 or 6 questions on 6. All right. Take a guess. In which state have home values increased at a higher rate? Mississippi or Hawaii? Hawaii. Okay. If these trends continue, what would the median home value be in 2010? Okay. Median home, by the way, means half are below, half are above that. They don't use the average price because if you have a huge palatial estate that's worth 50 million, then when you average it, it's called an outlier. Remember that? And it drags the average really out of the way and whatever. All right. I am going to use, do you want to use 50 or call this year 0? You pick. Actually, it's easier. If we call this year 0, this would be 50 years later, yes? Okay. We're going to write the equations. We're going to find the slopes first. Okay, so for Mississippi, you had 0 and 25, 200. And then you had 50 years later, it was 71, 400. All right, gentlemen, you are in charge of finding Mississippi's slope. Girls, we're going to do Hawaii's slope. Year 0, 71, 400. To 50 years later, it was 272, 700. Okay, so yeah, this number's wrong. Thank you. 74, 400. Yep. These two numbers are for Hawaii. I messed up. Okay, Mississippi, anybody get the slope yet? Okay, and Hawaii, anybody get the slope yet? 900. Anybody else get that number? 3966. We're good? Everybody know how they did those? Change in Y over change in X? Okay. Seems like we're running out of time, but we're really not because Year 0 is this. Isn't that the y-intercept right there? Okay, so we're going to write $924 per year starting at $25,200 for Mississippi. We want to know when were they equal $39.66 per year starting at $744,400. Okay, solve that equation. How fast can you solve that equation? I think it's a negative answer. I think it's negative 17. But that just means before 1950. All right, have a great weekend. Go to Orange and Black tonight. But make sure sometime this weekend you do worksheet 6 and finish the odds on worksheet 4. 16.1? So if you did 1950 minus 16, it'd be like 1934. Which Hawaii wasn't a state in 1934, so it's a little off, but